they need to do to revive themselves, and can they?
Well, I mean, I guess I'm not sure if everything's viewed through the lens of the TMZ issue. I think that was pretty unique. I mean, you have a website that's represented by AOL but not owned 100% by AOL, and so having gone through that experience in the early 02 to 06 timeframe when we represented CNN and Time, and all those sites tended to break away from representation once they became digitally savvy. They had cross-platform plans, and their needs far outstripped kind of a representation of being bundled into a group of properties. And so one would imagine that if you own the property and there was no muddied ownership structure, that you could perhaps successfully hold on to it. I mean, I do think that it's a fair bet to be placed on launching hot, greenhouse kind of brands that you've created yourself, grouped together, perhaps premium. But I do think that you're always going to be faced with, whenever you run any sales organization, how you allocate your sales resources. And there'll probably be instances where they're successful enough to create hot brands like TMZ that probably will need a different structure, different care and feeding, more oxygen from the sales team, whatever the case might be. But I think that when you're successful, it creates some sales structure issues, and you probably just have to be flexible and adapt to that.
But can AOL do that? Because so far they haven't been able to.
Well, I think Bill Wilson's been doing some really cool work on some of the brands that they've been creating, and not every brand becomes a TMZ, and that took a while. I mean, that was launched in '05, so it takes some time to get its traction. So I think that I think there's a definite if you look at more and more, I think the consumer last year looked at 200% more sites than they looked at the year before, and so I think you're seeing consumer behavior just going to other outlets to find information and news, and so that's a pretty good trend line for folks that are creating sites.
So AOL's future is in the long tail?
Torso. I mean, I think you get tripped up in terms, but I think their future isn't as a portal. And so does that mean then that there's this middle body of work that are professionally curated, web-centric, 2.0, 3.0, whatever the case might be? Yeah, it definitely seems to be where they're putting a lot of their resources towards.